must be wondering, what's with all this stuff? This is a classic case of if you know, you know. But if you don't know, let me explain. This guy's name is Koya. He's a character within BT21, a collaboration between the K-pop boy band BTS and Line Friends, which is a series of characters within a messaging app. And this is BTS. In order to understand why I like BTS so much, we would have to go back, way back. In my childhood, yes, I am holding a tub of kimchi. I will explain later. Now, I had a friend in middle school who brought kimchi fried rice every day and shared it with the rest of us. And she also had a Samsung flip phone on which we would watch Super Junior music videos. But it wasn't just us. The whole school was obsessed with K-pop. Walking down the hallways, you can probably hear SNSD or Big Bang blasting as the dance team tried to learn the latest moves. And this was a public school in Canada, where there wasn't a huge Korean population. So how did K-pop get so big? We didn't necessarily know it then, but we were part of a cultural phenomenon called Hallyu, or the Korean Wave, which refers to the spread of South Korean pop culture across the world. But how does South Korea, a country roughly the size of Illinois, become one of the world's largest cultural powers? How did its media industries operate outside of its borders to ensure this level of global influence? My name is Jessica, and today I'm going to be introducing you to the wonderful world of South Korean media industries. But first, some basics on the nation itself. South Korea, or Korea as I will refer to it from now on, is located in East Asia, in close proximity to countries like China, Japan, and crucially North Korea. It has a population of 51 million, half of which live in Seoul, the country's capital and the world's fifth largest metropolitan area. This means that the majority of people are densely populated and urban. In 2009, Korea had the world's lowest birth rate, and although it has risen slightly in the last decade, the numbers remain low. This leads to an aging population and a decline in the number of working adults. Ethnically, Korea is extremely homogeneous, with 96% of its population ethnically Korean. Outside South Korea, Koreans also reside in North Korea, an authoritarian state that is culturally and politically closed off to the rest of the world. The Koreas were split during the Korean War in the 1950s, and tensions still continue to this day. Beyond the Korean peninsula, the four largest Korean diasporas are found in China, the US, Japan, and Canada. LA, for example, has one of the largest populations of ethnic Koreans outside of Korea, and this has led to a lot of cultural exchange and cross-pollination with the US. After the Korean War, South Korea experienced a period of rapid economic growth, which the country has called the miracle of the Han River. And this quickly propelled the country from financial hardship to economic prosperity. Currently, South Korea's GDP is ranked 4th in Asia and 10th in the world. A major part of its economy relies upon the electronics and telecommunications industries, which provide fertile ground for the development of media and entertainment. The estimated market size for media and entertainment in Korea is roughly $3.3 billion as of November 2019. While this isn't huge in comparison to other cultural powers like US and China, whose market sizes are in the hundreds of billions, Korea is still able to find a significant market for its cultural products, especially if we consider exports. In 2019, Korean cultural exports were at a whopping 10.3 billion USD, and that was an 8.1% increase from 2018. So not only are cultural exports thriving at more than 3 times its domestic market, that global market is still growing. The major industries within the media and entertainment sector are film, TV, digital media, and music, all of which I will be talking about in this presentation. In terms of film, in 2019, Korea's box office amounted to $1.7 billion and a record high cinema admissions rate at 227 million. For comparison, let's take Spain, which has a similar GDP and population size. Spain's box office in 2019 only amounted to about $700 million. Simply put, Koreans like to go to the movies. And unlike many other countries outside of the US, Koreans actually like to go see their own movies. Domestically produced films accounted for 51.4% of box office shares, while US films accounted for 46.5%. The Korean film industry saw $2.2 billion in sales revenues and $38 million in export value in 2019. The export value for Korean TV content is also significant, given the international appeal of K-dramas. Back when explicitly exporting and trading TV content between countries was the main method of international distribution, K-dramas were already selling wonderfully. Jewel in the Palace, which came out in 2003, was sold to 91 countries. Nowadays, shows like Crash Landing on You are streamed worldwide effortlessly through international streaming platforms like Netflix, making access easier but tallying the numbers harder. Overall, the market value for broadcasting and cable TV came to about $5.3 billion in 2019, while VOD revenues came to about $79 million. This might seem like a big gap, but since the sources behind this data don't necessarily explain how they got to the numbers that they did, there is a chance that the $79 million isn't actually accounting for all of the revenues from VODs. For example, there are international VODs like Netflix who don't post earnings in Korea. The TV market is honestly pretty difficult to understand comprehensively, since it's fragmented between domestic and international platforms and between broadcast and online streaming. But despite this fragmentation, the demand for Korean content is still very much noticeable. Korea was named the country of honor at MIPCON 2020, one of the world's biggest TV marketplaces, demonstrating how hot Korean TV content is around the world. With a 95.9% internet penetration rate and the world's fastest internet, digital media also finds a significant market in South Korea. Even after adjusting for the pandemic, revenues for the digital media industry are projected to be $6.3 million in 2020, which makes Korea the fifth largest digital media market in the world. The key takeaway in terms of market is that despite being limited by a small population size, the market for Korean content is alive and well, thanks to a good mix of domestic support and international demand. Depending on the media property, a large portion of the market can actually be found outside of Korean borders, making the outward movement of media a major part of the industry. Thank you for watching this part 1 of 5 in a series on the South Korean media industries. If you like that, please drop me a comment below on what you think, and I will see you guys in part 2. Bye!